everyone, it's me again. Today we're going to talk about integers. So first of all, what is an integer? An integer is a whole number and its opposite. And 0 is also an integer. So integers do not contain decimals or fractions. On a number line, we've got some positive numbers and some negative numbers. The positive numbers after 0 start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they keep going. The negative numbers are kind of like a mirror image of the positive numbers because they start going to the left, but they're counting 1, 2, -1, -2, -3, -4, and outwards that way. So if you were to fold this number line in half, the 1s would touch, the 2s would touch, etc. So that's what a lot of people get confused with, is that we are used to seeing numbers range from 1 and so on going to the right, and so some people think, oh, my 1 should start over here and count up going to the right. But that's not the case with negative numbers. So when we write a number line with negative numbers, we have to start closest to 0 and go to the left. So -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. So 0, the number 0, is neither positive nor negative. Some words that describe positive numbers would be to gain, above sea level, to rise, up, increase, and deposit. Some words to describe negative numbers are loss, down, below sea level, oh, down again, decrease, and withdraw. Some words that describe the number 0 is just at sea level and the origin. When we're talking about positive and negative numbers, also called integers, we talk about their opposites. Numbers that are the same distance from 0 are opposites. So like I said, if you folded a number line in half, the 1s would touch, so the positive 1 and -1 would touch, because they're the same distance from 0. Two exact numbers with different signs. That's what an opposite is. So if I said, what's the opposite of -8? It would be +8. The opposite of 25 would be -25. The opposite of 0 is just 0 itself. Absolute value is the distance an integer is from 0. This will normally be a positive value. The absolute value symbols are these vertical bars that are on the outside of a number or a variable. So if I have the absolute value of -5, I'm going to take my number line, seen here, and I'm going to see how many spaces or how many numbers is it away from 0. It's 1 space here, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 4 spaces, 5 spaces. So the absolute value of -5 is 5 because it is 5 spaces away from 0. And so I would write 5. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Well, let's look at the number +5. If I go back to my number line and I count the spaces that the +5 is away from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the absolute value of +5 is also 5 because it is located 5 spaces away from 0. That's what absolute value means. Now sometimes we have a negative on the outside of the absolute value symbol. Remember, an opposite is that number but with a different sign. Well, this can be read the opposite of the absolute value of 5. Well, what was the absolute value of 5? It was 5. So what's the opposite of 5? -5. So the opposite of the absolute value of 5 is -5. So when you have an absolute value problem, most of the time your answer will end in a positive number. Sometimes, and you have to watch out, your answer will be negative. Comparing integers. Vic, number 1. Use a number line to compare integers. Numbers on a number line increase in value as you move from the left to the right. So if I've got a number line here, as I move through my number line, going from the left side to the right, my numbers are getting bigger in value. So I've got 1, if this was money, I'd have $1, $2, $3, $4, etc. I would be getting more money. But if I'm down here, even though 5 is a large number, it's -5, so I've got less money. If this was money, I would have -$5, or -$4, or -3, -2, -$1. As I go from the left to the right, I'm actually gaining value. Even though it might not appear it, I am. Okay? So I'm going to compare these two numbers using the less than, greater than, or equal to sign. So I've got -3, which is located right here, and then -5, which is located right here. So what would you rather have, -$3 or -5? Would you rather owe somebody $3 or owe somebody $5? Well, I'd rather owe somebody $3 because that means I'm closer to 0 and owing them nothing. So -3 is actually greater in value than -5. So then our next problem, what is bigger, 0 or -1? On the number line, here's my 0 and here's my -1. Remember, as we move from the left to the right, I'm gaining value. So the numbers that are closer to the right side of my number line are bigger. So 0 is bigger than -1 or greater than -1. What's bigger, 5 or -5? +5 is not on my number line. I could imagine that +5 is somewhere over here. -5 is all the way over there. Obviously, a positive number is definitely going to be greater than a negative number. So I've got a greater than sign here. And then again, what's greater, -5 or -1? -5 on my number line is here. -1 on my number line is here. Anything closer to the right is going to be greater than things on the left. So my -1 is actually the bigger number. I'm going to put a less than sign because this is red. -5 is less than -1. If I were to ask you to graph these integers on a number line, you would literally put a dot on the number line or above the number line, depending on your personality, of where these numbers are located. When you create a number line, you don't have to put 0 in the middle, but the way that I made my number line is I looked at all the numbers that I had, and I saw that my smallest number was -9, so I knew that I had to include the number -9 on my number line. And then my largest number is 8. So I knew that as I was making my number line, I had to include 8. So I just made it, my number line span from +10 to -10. That was my choice. And in that case, 0 did fall directly in the middle. But just evaluate and take a look of what numbers you're dealing with, and then you can decide on how to create your number line. So I'm going to graph these integers on the number line. Like I said, you can draw exactly on the line itself or slightly above it. I typically do like right above it. Sometimes I change though. Sometimes I write above the number line or on the number line. It just depends on how you like to view your numbers. We've got -4, which is here, +8, +2, and -5. As you can see, -4 and -5 are very close to one another. Now, rewrite them in order from least to greatest. We call that ascending order. Remember, the smallest or the smaller numbers are on the left, and then they get bigger as you read to the right. So I'm going to rewrite my numbers in order from least to greatest. I'm going with -9 first, then -5, then -4 comes next, +2, and +8. Do not get confused and look at only their absolute values, because that will not give you the correct answer. And then lastly, you try these problems. Write as an integer. So using those words of gain, loss, increase, decrease, rewrite these phrases as an integer. A deposit of $13, a loss of 19 points. Then write the opposite value, +15, -22, and 0. Write the absolute value of these two numbers, the absolute value of 1, and then the opposite of the absolute value of 20. Number 4, is this an integer, yes or no? Is -1/2 an integer? Is the number 100 an integer? And finally, write these numbers in ascending order. If you need to, just go back in the video and review what these terms mean: integer, ascending order, opposite, absolute value, and decide which is which. All right, see you tomorrow.